Okay, so welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna talk, let's talk wiring. This is a lovely 22 gauge. So it's pretty thin, but it's still like, you can buy it like this. It's like straight sticks. This is only if you're using like tubular stems, which I don't know if that's what they're called. Just like florals that have tubes. So a delphinium has a tube where you can you're not gonna be able to see this. Oh, you can, but it's like a hole where you can just stick, it's so easy to stick wire in. And normally you don't have to do this, but I'm prepping bouquets right now. So I'm doing these for these delphiniums because they're really flimsy. And so they can get broken off really easy. And so, yeah, so this one is wired. This is not wired. You can tell the difference. But basically, yeah, I just stripped the foliage. I'm gonna chop it a little bit because my wire isn't that long. And then this is super easy. You just thread it in. And I would just let it watch it because it's gonna come to the end. And if your stem is bent in any way and it's a strong bend, then it'll pop through the stem. So you want to watch it to go all the way. And then you just push it. If it comes out the end, it's totally fine. Just pull it back out a little bit. And then bam, structure. It's not gonna break. This also applies to ranunculus. So if you're making a boutonniere, you definitely want to wire your ranunculus because they're very, very flimsy and they break easy. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much, oh, and then we also wire tulips, but that's only kind of for special things. Like this bride, my friend's wedding that I'm doing right now, she has an all tulip bouquet. And so I'm gonna wire the majority of her tulips. And because it's not a tubular, but because they are really flimsy, you don't want to hurt it. But I'm just gonna go for this. I'm gonna go through the head of it. So I'm just gonna pry it open a little bit. I do want these to be a little bit closed and with the classic shape. And then I'm just going to feel the head of it and try and poke the wire through the middle as best I can. So it poked through the end there. I'm just gonna pull it back out and then try to guide it with my fingers. Oh, it hates me. This is tricky. Anyways, good point. You don't have to go all the way to the end, but just to a good spot, and that will just ensure that it doesn't break. Again, do not have to do this, but it's a good tip. Okay, so I'm about to make my bridesmaids bouquets, and I've set out all of the flowers in their jars. So this is what one of my recipes is. So I can send you recipes also and help you make them if once you determine what ingredients you want, what type of flowers, then we can figure out how many of each you need to get to make a medium-sized bouquet, or a medium small, or a posy, or something like that. So I have a lot of flowers here. I don't think that I'll use them all, but I have them, which is nice. So when you're building, you can just kind of pick and choose what you'd like. And so, yeah, I have, you can see there's 2 hydrangea in this one, 2 hydrangea in each one, and then there's 4 roses, and there's 4 roses in each one, so on and so forth. So also that keeps the bouquets consistent, and they will eventually, when you use majority of the ingredients, they will all look the same size. So yeah. Okay, so when it comes to bouquets, you have different types of flowers. You have like a base, you have a focal flower, a filler flower, and then you also have greenery of some sort, normally. So for my base, I'm using hydrangea, and then I will this is where I will start, and that will be like my 2 tiers, and then keep going. And then my focal roses and tulips. Filler would be baby's breath, and spray rose, because they have many heads. And then I have, like, my specialty is delphinium, and then Sadie eucalyptus. So that's that base. Okay, so now we get to building the bouquet. I made this one first to kind of explain the process that I use. So for my focal flowers, I started with let's start with the base. The base was hydrangea, and I built into it, and I'll show you that in a second. But then I added my focal flowers, which I have 4 of each, roses and tulips, which if you have 1 focal flower, you use like 8 or 9, I would at least. So a rule of thumb is kind of to work in 3s and 4, there's 4, but you work in 3 because you want to make triangles kind of. And I love like airy bouquets. This one is a little bit tight for me, but like the way that things are sticking out kind of, you can kind of see like each ingredient like has its moment kind of. So the tulips moment is on the left side, and that's basically, you can see though, I've got 1, 2, 3, there's a triangle here. And that kind of creates a, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of, I don't know, seamless? No, that's not it. Anyways, sorry. I'm trying so hard not to ramble in these because they're gonna be so long. Okay. Anyways, I've got the 3 roses kind of in the front. You can see the triangle here. And then I got a rose in the back. And I got a tulip in the back too, to kind of bring it over to so I've got tulips on this side. I've brought the tulip over on this side. I've got roses kind of in the front. I've brought the roses in the back. So that's kind of what you use your 4th stem for, I would say. Yeah. I decided halfway through that I did not like how I kept some greenery on the tulips. You might run into this because this will really kind of throw off your brain too, at least mine. I left some greenery on the tulips, but the greenery is like really, green for a tulip, which I love this, but for the baby's breath, because this baby's breath has like kind of a darker green stem to it, and also my eucalyptus is like a muted eucalyptus, so it's not super bright and green, and so it was not working for me, and so I just took them off. So that's something that you might run into, and it's nice to kind of have a greenery, because then you can just have that greenery and stick to it. So like, if you notice, I took all of the leaves off of the hydrangea, and the roses are stripped, and yeah, took all the stuff off the tulips, and then also greenery off the delphinium. So if you have 1 greenery, you have other green parts of flowers, like, the base of the rose and other things. It just kind of makes everything come together a little bit easier. I am hoping that makes sense. It probably doesn't. Okay, so now it comes to building. Base as will be hydrangea, which are super fun because there's so many holes that you can stick things in. It just gives everything great structure. You can even start with 1, honestly. You don't need to, because I will honestly end up cutting off most of this, like these sides, sometimes the side shoots will like spray out and I don't want that there, and I can cut it out, which is nice. So I'm gonna try and explain this as best I can, so bear with me. I'm not super great at it. I also would recommend building in front of a mirror here, so that's where I'll be looking, so that I can see the front. But normally I kind of start by like looking at the whole shape, and then I go to the mirror and kind of check out like what's the front and what's the side looking like. And that's where you can like adjust things and pull things out and all that stuff. So, gonna start, I wanna make it pretty similar to the one I just made. But you don't want it to be like copy paste, but it can't be. This is a bridesmaid, okay. I have height here with my second hydrangea, so it's like a tier. So I'm gonna go roses in my bottom height to kind of even it out. So yeah, I'm gonna add my focal flowers and then we'll make a different video. Okay, so as I'm kind of arranging these, I've already popped off a little bit of hydrangea. I have a feeling this is gonna be too much, but I'm just gonna keep looking at it. Something that I like to create is like a high, low, high moment. So there's kind of like depth and interest when you're looking through it. You kind of see in this one, like that's what creates like the ability that these tulips are airy, and like the delphinium is sticking out, and that's kind of what creates a good shape. It's kind of like a heart in a way. So yeah, I kind of have this rose sticking out. This guy can come out a little bit more. I want this to be kind of up front more. Anyways, yeah. And then of course when you stick in, hydrangea is so great because you can like stick it wherever you'd like in it, and it has like a really nice structure. So I feel like everything is kind of more towards the back. I'm just gonna move it forward. Okay, next up is filler flowers, so spray and baby's breath. I kind of like to keep the spray like not as their own moment, they're like accompanying the roses. So like the baby's breath kind of, oh you can't see that. The baby's breath like kind of has its moment right here, but the spray is like what's bringing the blue and the white together. Spray can get really heavy because they have like a lot of, not heavy, but like weight wise, but like this is like a lot to look at because they have a lot of stems. So yeah, don't be afraid to pop some off. And also just watch like where I wouldn't put them like super close together, but they're just really good like filler and to give shape too. And like throughout this process, like you can see my tulips just got squashed down. It's because like I'm loosening my hand when I'm like placing stems so that they can go in easier. So my tulips just got all squashed, and I'll just pull them back out. But that's just something you want to be aware of. Something else when it comes to like a tulip or like really any focal flower is kind of keeping them at 3 different heights. If they're all kind of, I don't like love the way they are right now because they're all at the same height, and that doesn't create really much interest, and you can like see right through them. So I kind of have like my smallest, and then my tallest, and then a medium, and that creates like this is, I'd rather have this one, but just like a little more interest in that way. Okay. Gosh, this video is so long. Okay, so next is baby's breath, and it's pretty much the same as the spray, but I'm trying to kind of mix the greens of the spray that you can see with the greens here, and then I also just like, this is feeling really big. So yeah, I'm not loving the size. I'm just gonna pop off a couple hydrangea shoots, which you can definitely keep these, and I will keep them for other things. But that just kind of helped me like create my shape a little bit more, and I like that a lot better. Yeah, so something like, what am I trying to do with this? Collar. You're not really trying to make a collar with it, you're just trying to like integrate it, but this is also something that can like blend from the hydrangea to make it look like it's not just a basic hydrangea. I finished up my baby's breath, kind of put some on top here. I'm gonna add some greenery pieces, and yeah, you can do a lot more greenery. You can start with the basic greenery if you don't want to use hydrangeas, but I kind of like have a lot more flowers than I was expecting to, so I did a more floral heavy bouquet, and I'm just adding greenery to kind of tie everything in, and to keep it all like one green. So a tip with this is I really only am going to add like 3 stems of it and just kind of make a collar, but I don't want to make it like super big flush collar because it is a floral heavy and like floral focused bouquet. But I kind of want to tie everything together, so I'm going to try and like loop it in so it kind of goes into the bouquet and it's not just like that. So a trick is just to cross it to go over. So that it's like going into the bouquet a little bit, but it's not like totally at the front. Something to always like, I love having clippers like right next to my station because I like this piece. It's too much. that's enough of that. Now I'm gonna add my delphinium. I kind of, after doing the last one, because I don't want it to be too airy, because I need to make these like condensed and not super ginormous. I am yeah, I like that better. I kind of like took a bunch of the blooms off of them to kind of keep them condensed. And yeah, since I have 4 stems of these two, I am just gonna kind of fill in spots and use these to create the more of a shape that I want. Right now it's feeling very round. Some on the front and then kind of in the back. And again, low-key just like making a triangle with these. And then the 4th one can go wherever you need to fill something in. These are all the same height, but that's just like how I place them. So I'm gonna squish this one in a little bit more, but I just wanted you to see how that like looked. Here we go. I like that better. Don't really need him. Something else, if you're trying to get like out, like stems out, don't be afraid to like cross through your stems. And I'm able to like press so much with this because it's wired. So that's the plus for wiring. She's done. I'm going to compare her. She's looking a little bit big. So, because I feel like it's a little bit big, I'm gonna just push things in a little bit. Cutting off this might help. I like how that is. There you go. A good point. Oh, and then I would also recommend this is called Oasis waterproof tape. And you can also use a zip tie, but I really like the tape because I can undo it. And I can undo it and fix things, and it's easier to adjust. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm a terrible influencer because I forgot to film this, and I wanted to film this for Hannah because I remember she might want some pieces at the altar, back of her altar, I'm not sure. So I'm making 2 back of aisle pieces, which are just really just like a vessel with foam and chicken wire and tape. And then, so it'll be round in a way in its shape. these in particular are going to be like on top of barrels. So I'm kind of like making a round, covering the top of the barrel. But I'm not necessarily making it like perfectly round because it's not my favorite thing. I don't like it actually. So yeah, but that's like the general shape. It's like a, anywho. So this is halfway-ish through the second one, which basically what I've done is like cut the eucalyptus, like this is one stem and I've cut it off like short, and just stuck it in. I used it also just to cover the base, and then I stuck it in to kind of give it shape. So like there's gonna be two at the back of the aisle. So like on this one right here that I'll show in a second that I've already done, I have like, it has both shape, but in particular, I have a hydrangea that's going one way. And so on the other one, the hydrangea is gonna go that way. It's not gonna be like identical. You don't want twins, you want sisters. So it's gonna be a little bit different, but still like the hydrangea's on the left, hydrangea's on the right kind of deal. Does that make sense? Yeah, if you like, look at them both together. Shoot. So like, obviously this is so far from being done, but this is the height, it goes down, this is the height up here, kind of deal. So yeah, this is kind of the finished product of what this will be. The main thing with these guys is like working in threes and working in groupings. You don't really ever want to like polka dot things, but you're kind of working in either lines or like triangles. So like this is going to be a line swooping up, and I'm also just like using hydrangea 2 to like cover the base. So there'll probably be one over here and one back here. And then, so like, you can barely see this, but like this delphinium is in a triangle. And then I have moments of the tulips over here and over here. And then when it comes to fillers, like your baby's breath and your greenery, that can kind of be polka dotted, but it just depends. This is also all like not a hard set and fast rule. This is just how I do it. You can do whatever you'd like. But anyways, start with greenery, go in with your base, like hydrangeas, and then fillers. I'll probably fill more baby's breath after I finish the hydrangea. And then, yeah, and then you go in with focals like roses, tulips. A big thing with these kind of arrangements and also with like bouquets is like height, like different heights, like different flowers being at different heights is kind of your friend, and that's like what creates depth, and that's like what creates like an eyesight to be able to see the other flowers that are in the arrangement. So like, you don't want to keep everything at like one height, basically. So like this rose here is kind of popping out from the hydrangeas. But like the hydrangeas are having their moment back here, and then the rose is having its moment right here, and then the tulips are coming out. Like the greenery is in a base. So I don't really know if that makes any sense at all, but I'm gonna keep going. We'll check back in, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's all you need to know. Anywho. Okay, so boutonnieres. Scary, but pretty simple. So basically I have 2 tulips. Boutonnieres could also be like spray roses or ranunculus. I can take a video of Soph's ranunculus boutonnieres that I make, but these are a little more complicated than that. So if you decide to do tulips, I literally wired like up to here. And that's it, because tulips are so hard to wire. But, and then I just kept a little bit of greenery on there for like the simple classic look. But this one doesn't. So basically I'm gonna figure out like how I want them to position. There's one. And then I have what's called stem wrap, which is like basically like a sticky tape, but when you pull it, I would order this. When you pull it apart, it's normal tape, but then when you pull it apart, it gets sticky, like a little bit. And it just kind of like adheres to itself, which is really nice for like, you can see like that's the finished product. So okay, I'll just take my stem wrap. This is a lot. And wrap it. This is my opinion, again. I personally like small and dainty boutonnieres rather than like some people, or some boutonnieres that I've seen are like a massive rose. And that is just kind of when I like one normal sized rose that's like open. That's like, when I see a wedding picture of like the groom and the bride, and then he has like one massive rose on his shoulder, I'm like, whoa, it's like right where my eyes are drawn. So I really like small ones because they're cute and easy to make, and they look good. Anyways, that's my story. I cut it kind of long. You can cut it however, oh, you can see the wire. But you can kind of cut it however long you'd like. But I keep them long and then cut them the morning of, a little bit shorter. But I keep them long so that they're easier to store in like a cylinder. So come back with the ribbon. Okay, one thing I want to mention is, I didn't talk about this before, but with the stem tape, when you are like wrapping it, make sure that you're pulling and then wrapping. So you're kind of like taut, like you're pulling it tight and then wrapping it around, because then it'll stick to itself and you can give it a little press and then it's all sticky and bam. Okay, so when it comes to ribbons, I would always do something like super thin. This is a 3/8 of an inch. And cut yourself a long piece because it just makes everything easier, and then cutting off ends like so much easier. So how I start this is basically I'm gonna take it at like the 3/4, shiny side up. This is the front of my boot. I want that to be my front, so I'm just gonna have it rest here, and then we're gonna wrap, rest at the top, and then you're gonna wrap down. So I'm just going around like this and covering it, and then I'm wrapping again. So that was one. You're just covering the stem tape. I'm gonna hold it, and then I'm gonna take this guy and come around. So now I have 2 ends here, and then I'm going to tie them. So tie them kind of in the front, because if you try and put the tie in the back, it doesn't fit on the suit right. So use your mouth. And then one more. It depends on the type of ribbon that you're using, but this is like the normal like craft store ribbon. And so I would always do 2 knots. As tight as you can. You can try and like position it right. And then you just cut off the ends. I kind of give it like at an angle. And then yeah. So imagine it like that, because I would cut off more stem. And then I would always get these corsage pins. This is what they look like. But they're long. I mean, that's probably 1.5 inches. And then you can just put it in the back at an angle. I do 1 and then 2 because I don't actually know how to put a boutonniere on. I need to figure that out tomorrow. But I don't think that you need 2 pins, but we always put an extra one on there in case it like falls. So there we have it, boutonniere.